Good morning, good morning. Peace to the gods. Um, Recently I got a couple of requests to help a few people on how to start a blog or for creative people on a short budget. I have been blogging for about 5 or 6 years off and on, and it's really, really simple. If you're a creative person, if you have the time, so either you have a whole bunch of time or you have money to hire other people. And for people who don't have the money to hire other people just yet, because sometimes it can run in the thousands. It's a couple of simple things you can do to promote your business and still be professional and take care of your social media while creating a platform for just your business. Social media as we know it right now, like Facebook, when you post stuff on Facebook, it's not really yours. So if they decide to close down tomorrow, all the stuff that you've posted goes into Never Neverland, and you never really have a chance to keep those pictures, those archives, those files, or whatever you were sharing. But if you have a blog or a website, it's yours and you own the domain. The domain is the name and the store, or the name for it. So if your business is XYZ business, then you want to put xyzbusiness.com. That would be your domain name. And usually it costs about anywhere from, I've seen it cost $16 a year, and I've seen it cost up to, at one point, I think when I first started out, I was paying $200 for 3 years. But it just depends. Yeah. If anything, you want to lock down your names before you do anything. Most people think that a blog is just people just spouting out random stuff, but it's not. It's really like your own intellectual property. It's your own stake. So I would recommend it. Like as a fashion designer, I'm able to save more money by running my own website, by making my own clothes, by ordering wholesale as opposed to retail, and I can do a lot of that from a mobile standpoint. I don't necessarily have to have a storefront, although a storefront would be nice. But a storefront ties you down to overhead costs and things like that. Like if you're just starting out in business, literally like you trying to bootstrap or start from scratch, I think having a website can be your online store. You can collect payments, and you can have a blog to say whatever it is that you're talking about, whatever your field or whatever your niche is. Your blog is your home for that. Social media can be extensions of that, but having a website or a blog or some type of, even a one-page landing spot where people can come and see that you actually legit, because now people really check for paperwork and stuff like that. So having a domain name is important, locking that down. Some places that you can go to grab one is GoDaddy. You can grab Bluehost.com. I want to say HostGator are places that you can go. But if you Google just domain names, you can check around and see prices. Also, the name of your blog. You want to, I've heard both, peace, Granny, peace, love, how are you? Running over just some tips and stuff on starting a blog if you're a creative, and how to do it economically, like if you're a startup. So locking down a domain name would be the first thing. Once you come up with what you want to do, or even just, it can either be your name, your business name, or something that catches people's attention. Like it's a lot of, you're not just competing with people in your local area. You're competing with people that are global. I'm well. So when you look at starting your business from scratch, whether you come from a hustle mentality, or you come from a book type background, the internet has opened it up for us to be able to compete with people that are in China, and it's different from competing from people that are around the corner. It's a lot more people, and the best thing that you could do is offer something of good quality to people and be able to have support and have people backing you. But when you tell somebody about your designs or your books, it's not just people that are in your 50-mile radius. It's people that are halfway across the globe. So having a blog or having some type of website or online presence does make that a lot easier for people to find you. Even if you don't have a brick and mortar is fine. But even with billboards, when we are looking around, like most people had a face in the phone, so they're not even looking at really billboards. Sometimes that's a waste. when you want to start investing your money, you want to start investing in your brands and stuff online to have an online presence, because blogs count. Like, I remember someone contacted me to do an interview, and they was like, I was credible because I had written so many blogs, I did so many interviews, and for me, that was just me wanting to learn how to do something better, or going to people that I knew. Like, I didn't really reach up, I reached across to people that I knew and interviewed them first and started there. And I just recorded my thoughts. And that became a whole business for me. So, a domain name, knowing what you want to do. My number one tool is having a media calendar. Like, the most common thing for people who blog or for people who actually run their thing is burnout. Like, if you're wanting to start an online anything, blog, business, anything like that, and you're creative, the number one thing that I hear across the board is burnout. So if you can plan and have a calendar for whatever you're teaching or whatever you want to get across to people, having it so that looking on the calendar will allow you to see, okay, well, I can spend 2 hours on Sunday writing and creating content. On Monday, I'm going to do my research. Tuesday, I'm going to send out proposals and pitches and just different things that you want to do just for your blogs. If you plan it out and say, okay, sticking with like a certain number, even starting out with one blog a week is cool, but one a month, starting out with a blog, it's best to pace yourself. Or another tip that I would have for you, in conjunction with having a media calendar or some type of thing, even just your notebook and agendas, but having a calendar online and with you at all times to see what you're doing and having the time blocked off. Because if you just if you start a blog as a hobby as opposed to starting it as a business, scheduling makes it run a lot smoother. So to help avoid burnout and to always keep content rolling, I schedule it to see what I'm talking about today, what I'm talking about tomorrow, what 3 points can I drive home. So, just simple things to keep it fun. Burnout basically is like, well, you've put out all your ideas and now you're tired. And because once you have a blog or have something like that, it is kind of like a business. It's very much so. Or you can also run it as a hobby, but for the people that have been having questions, they're more concerned with trying to use a blog to start their cake business or something like that. Like, it's very possible. And it's a lot cheaper than having a store. Like, right now, stores are going out of business. Even like a lot of major department brands, these places are going out of business. So having an online presence, even just a blog where you're writing about your favorite recipes, that can be a check. Like, that's income, and that can be residual income if you teach it well and teach it so that people understand how to do it. A blog, it can be written, it can be audio, it can be however you are most comfortable with getting your ideas across. For me, sometimes I like to do videos because I want to keep my hands busy. Sometimes I like to write it, so I'll do podcasts, I'll do written blogs, and I'll do video blogs. So once it's done, I can take it, and if I'm okay with it, I'll upload it, and then the next time somebody has a question about what are the tools that I was using, now I have a video of that, and they can go and download it for themselves. So with the domain name, it's very important. Lock down your name, because a lot of times we can wait on having a domain name or even locking it down or saying, oh, it's not important. But having a domain name is important. Having at least a DBA, which is like, it stands for doing business as, and you file those at your local courthouse for like less than $20 depending on your state. And that at least say that you can be in business. There are other different things that you can do. You can get an LLC, you can get an INC, or some other different structures for your business. But step by step, just starting it to be able to say that this is mine, and to be able to get hired as a vendor and to do business on a level that's not just popping your trunk. Sometimes the paperwork is necessary. So to get in the gate, figure out the name that you want for your blog. Also lock the name down to get started, instead of I would suggest sitting down writing multiple blogs and batching your time throughout the week as opposed to just allowing it to happen, because as we know, energy and motion stays in motion. So if you set aside a time to do it and schedule it out with the calendar, most of us have very busy lives, so just being able to sit down for 4 hours sometimes to block off to do so many blogs may not be a feasible thing for you on Monday, but it might be feasible for you to do that on a Saturday or a Thursday or something like that. So knowing how to schedule your time that you already have with making time to keep up and maintain running your own think tank. And that can turn into magazines, that can turn into podcasts, that can turn into all kinds of things. Good morning. Having some type of presence online is very important. And the simplest way to do that is to start a blog. And that can be done for free. But you can also pay for hosting but strictly for starting up. Some of these things that you can really do for free and just buy your domain name. And it's still yours. It allows you, if you have products, even if it's just the process of becoming an entrepreneur, people will watch that because that inspires them to do something other than what they were doing. We love to see people doing well. And the first thing when you say, oh, well, I've been in business, some people will accept your social media as credibility to see what you're doing, but some people still want that paperwork, period. They still want paperwork that say you a qualified person to teach yoga or sell beans or whatever you selling. So a blog gives people, you can put your own portfolio of work on there. You can put your services. So when people come to you asking what you do, how are you doing, or whatever it is, having a simple blog set up is a simple thing that you can pass to people for little or nothing. Whether you run it like a hobby or if you run it like an actual business and schedule out the time. But anything that you devote time to gets better. I have a cousin that wants to start a blog she wants to be a plus size stylist. But the biggest hang up was she didn't know which platform to pick. I tried all of them. I tried WordPress, the free one. I tried the hosted one that came with the domain and the hosting. I started off on Blogger, and I enjoyed all of those for different things. I switched from Blogger to WordPress because it looked a little cleaner to me, and it gave me a lot more control when it came to the templates that I wanted to use, or editing, or even personalizing how I wanted to drop in things. And it came with stuff. Even the free version comes with enough stuff for you to start a decent blog. If you start off with the .com one, it's free. Or the WordPress with the WordPress in the name, it's free. You don't have to do anything but add your name and a couple graphics. Yeah, it definitely does depend on what works for you. Some people don't really know coding. So if you just want to start and it's already done and you just pick a design and name it, you can start on Blogger. And that costs you nothing. So for me, that's how I started. I want to say that's how I started writing for Fashionably Houston. Fashionably Houston was like a fashion new media source. Kind of like we went to events and stuff, wrote articles on different style tips and trends. And from there, I started writing as a blogger for Houston fashion bloggers. And, oh, cool. Most definitely. Yeah, and all of this stuff just fell in my lap, really, truly. Because I've always been cool with words and writing. Like, when I say, like, for books and articles, I'm not proper. I'm not proper at all. I just write about how I see fashion or how I see colors, how it comes together for me. And it turned into a business. Like, it didn't start out that way. Like, even for fashion, even for how I started learning how to sew. I learned to sew because I hated the gap in the back of my pants because my hips and stuff didn't match the clothes that I was buying. So I was kind of like, and it came with I've always liked or had this love affair with clothes and sparkly stuff. So I remember being in Anchorage and I was half asleep. And as I'm going in and out, in between consciousness and unconsciousness, I say I'm gonna have a fashion brand for women that like to get dressed, and I called it, I don't know, it was something, it was a long title. I don't even remember what the original design name was for it, but I was half asleep. I don't even remember saying it. Somebody else, like my mate at the time, was telling me, like, you remember what you were saying in your sleep? No. Sleep out of there. No. But I wanted to learn because it was a problem. Like, it solved a problem. As long as I was solving a problem for people, other stuff just opened up. And my answer usually is yes. And whether I get a good experience or a bad experience from it, I at least go head first and try. Like, that's a given. So with blogging, sewing, any of the things that I learned, I just kind of fell into them. Kind of like I was just wanting something to do other than what I was doing. Like, where I was currently at wasn't comfortable for me, so I wanted to do something different. So I randomly wrote, I saw an ad, either it was even for the school that I was going to. I went to Houston Community College, and the school that I was going to would post like different jobs or different internships and different things like that. And you apply or you call people and you whoop-de-whoop and however that go. So I applied. I want to say I was on the school's email list, and they was like, whoever wants to start, they need writers or something. And I just started writing, and I think it was like the corniest piece, looking back, it was the corniest piece I've ever written. It was straight corny, but I tried, and they was like, yeah. I didn't think I was gonna get it. I was just writing to see, like, it can't hurt. From there, I really, really enjoyed it. Like, me even starting my first blog. My first blog was the Chronicles of Jaded Kisses, and it started out as something that I was doing to combat postpartum depression. Like, that really was why I started it. My shorty was real young, and I couldn't quite go back to school yet because my body was open, so I was bored, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something. Something, being in the house is driving me. I need to do something. And I just started it, and it was amazing that people even took the time to read it. Like, I didn't even think people were really reading my blog when I would post recipes and hairstyles and how I was doing my hair and makeup. I didn't think anybody was reading until I got an email from a guy named Eric Tung, I think, in Houston. He was like, oh, you won, or you placed in the top 100 social influencers for Houston. And I was like, who put me in there? Like, who nominated me? He was like, nah, just based on what you're doing. And I won it for social media and how I was working my blog as a business. But I was getting jobs for social media and helping people with their blogs, but I was a whole fashion designer. Like, my day job was fashion and fluff pieces, not, like, spring is about florals. And it just so happened that people was really feeling it. So from there, I started my brand, Jaded Kisses. And all of this was just me not telling myself no. So a blog has been very important. Social media is very important. I've met a lot of clients who thought that social media for their business wasn't important and they didn't need to spend no money on it. And though a lot of those businesses are closing, they don't blog, they don't interact with their people, And don't get me wrong, good word of mouth is cool, but word of mouth on the block is one thing, but word of mouth globally is another. And how you treat people travels real fast now. So if you're thinking about starting a business, if you're thinking about doing something different, I say go for it. Most definitely, it has been a very beautiful journey for me. So most definitely, quick recap before I shoot out. Think about your blog name and what you want to blog about. And if you're a creative person, don't make it hard. Just the simplest stuff that's kind of catchy. You can get the domain name for little or nothing. A lot of this stuff, setting up a blog can cost you under $100. So that's cheaper than your hair, your makeup, your shoes. It can cost less than $100. And if you hustle, it can be cool. Like, everything that I said I wanted to do, I've done. Pretty much every show I wanted to do, I've done, and I would always wonder how I got there. Like, it's not as hard as we make it. I used to look up to certain people and individuals, and they would come on with full faces of makeups and full suits, and sometimes that's not me. I decided to run my business and my blog just truly how I lived. If I didn't plan it, it didn't happen. So that's why I'm saying a media calendar, getting the paperwork and the back office stuff. Like, the back office stuff is the stuff that don't nobody really want to do. Like, normally you hire a virtual assistant or somebody to do that stuff, but when you bootstrapping, most people don't even know what that is. So I think I'm gonna do an email series or just an online series of just tips and stuff on just blogging for the week. I think that'll be cool. So if you have questions, shoot them to me. I will definitely answer them, and it'll probably be like 6 or 7 in the morning because that's when I'm up and feeling like sharing and stuff. So domain name, lock it down. Write out a couple of little blog posts or different things that people need to know in your industry. Like, if you start out your blog as the stuff that people just ask you about, that's your about page. That gives you an idea. It formulates what you're gonna do. So instead of saying my client is everybody, or my blog is for everybody, or my website is for everybody, or my style is for everybody, instead of saying stuff is for everybody, figure out who exactly. Scratch that. Create it as if it's something that you want to see or consume or be involved in. Because, when we create stuff for other people, we critique that to a certain level, but if we making it for ourselves, we could treat that shit on a whole nother level. So when we get ready to do business with people, we vet them, how long they've been in business, who they know, all of those things. So now that when we start blogs and businesses and things like that, the same microscopic woo-wop that we use for other people, now we have to put it and make sure we can put out good content. Make sure we're putting out something that is beneficial to people, because we have enough people putting out stuff that really don't matter. Like, how many times we gonna talk about these same 3 ladies? Like, just different stuff that's in the news. So anybody that would like to start a blog or like to take street hustling to some other stuff, start a blog, start an online business. Like, no, I couldn't stand working for other people, and I still can't. I don't like being told what to do. If you don't like being told what to do, you should definitely be your own boss. And that looks a lot differently than I thought it would starting out. Like, books taught me something, but my greatest lessons for my business have been out here just learning. Hand over fist learning. And having a plan, being able to say, okay, well, I'm going to devote 2 hours today to 2 blog posts for 2 different, it can really work. I'm all about being able to self-sustain for people of color. We say we want ways out. We say, we want to get out of this situation. We want to get out. Well, we make fitness and finance and things like that really, really hard, and starting our own thing so hard when we work so diligently for other people. So my goal is to give you the knowledge that I have. And in 10, 20 minutes, there really isn't a lot of time. So if I give it to you in small doses, for the people that want it, cool. You can take it and you can actually take what I said and go and do something today. You can take what you got in your hands and go and start a blog. Whether you start it for free or whether you take $100 and say, I'm going to lock down a domain name, I'm going to lock down a virtual assistant. You can hire a virtual assistant, a real one, and not your cousin. That's another problem. When we start blogs and businesses and things, and we want to run it professionally, but we want to hire our cousin who has no idea what social media is and not going to give it the time and attention that it really, really needs to be done well. We get them, we say we're going to hire our cousin, our nieces in place and things like that don't know nothing about it. And we won't take the time to learn with them. So if you bootstrapping, that means a lot of stuff you don't have the money to pay for, because marketing can get expensive. But those things come later. Just strictly starting a blog, all you have to do is research which type of blog and which site you want. Do you want to be informative? Do you want to a lot of research goes into anything that we're gonna spend hours devoting our time to. Some of the most exciting places and journeys and people and moments have ever encountered started because they saw something that I posted, saw something that I was writing or blogging or event that I was going to. And for a while I stopped doing that. So as I'm on a journey of rebuilding a couple blogs, I feel like if I could come on and share a few things with other people that want to share, that want to start blogs and that are creatives, artists, jewelry makers, people like that, like there's a whole other world within the internet for people who like fashion and don't want to spend 7 grand on it, but they still want to look good. Like, if you are a person who really, really loves doing it yourself and being economical about your money, like, it's not even about being cheap sometimes. Doing it yourself, sometimes it, for me, allows me to know that I am not, what I have on, ain't nobody else got it on. Like, it's really, that's the real thing for me, and it fits me. You know, I with amongst women, you know, when we do business, you know, people are quick to criticize, or if you don't have on the latest shoes or whatever. But you are judged most definitely by your appearance, hands down. For frivolous people, for people who are simple, you are judged by your appearance. But some of the most generous, kind-hearted, some of the wealthiest people I know look like straight bums, straight bums. So once we get past that, it's really about choice and how we choose to express ourselves. So if you're a person who is always creating, whether it's scarves, doing hair, makeup, nails, and you don't have the money to go and hire somebody, for having a blog started can cost out the gate, when you hire some people, can cost anywhere. I've paid anywhere from $200. I had somebody to start my first one for $2, but the money that I still had to invest in my domain name, I still had to invest in business cards, I still invested in, I want to say it was something else I invested in with my business when I first started. Are business cards necessarily needed today? People ask for them, but I know for me, I've noticed that even with the business card, like most times people take your business card and they throw them joints everywhere. Period. Rarely, I've only met 2 or 3 people that actually keep business cards and follow up, like use the information and follow them. One thing I will say is having a blog and having your blog legit or your website legit, it gives you a different presence on looking professional. Because even if you don't have internet, or even if you don't have business cards, you can break out your social media and go right to your website or your blog, and that don't have to cost a whole bunch of money, and be like, oh, well, let me check out what you're writing about. Oh, let me check out your style. Let me check out whatever it is, your haircuts. Having just social media alone is not enough, because at any given time, Snapchat can go under and all your snaps are gone. Facebook could go under and all your information is gone. All of these things can go, but if you have your website and you save your pieces and keep your stuff, that's yours forever. If you lock down your domain, that is yours forever. It's yours. It's your intellectual property. The difference between the .com and having a blog that just says blogger or wordpress.com with the name, as opposed to having it hosted and having your own custom domain name, is you have to actively save it and do more. They self-host it. It's when they host your information and your hardware and your files and stuff online, and when you host it and have to keep up with it. But learning the back office stuff, it does take a lot of time. Ain't no way around it. The best way to learn about blogging is to get around people who are all learning with you, and even if they know more or know less, they will be able to share information amongst you. If you're a business owner, if you're a boutique owner, if you do hair, like if you're a person, an entrepreneur, period. If you have an entrepreneurial spirit, having a website or a blog or somewhere where people can check out whatever it is that you're doing or what you stand for, and having it locked down, That's important. So until next time, guys, if you have questions, send them to me, and I will be probably, maybe I'll come on Mondays and just drop tips on blogging. But that's all I have for right now. Hopefully it helped you. Happy Monday.